How's it going, YouTube? This is Steven, and I want to talk about something or a couple of things that I heard floating around. Okay, at the National Democratic Convention, or the Democratic National Convention, whatever, Michelle Obama gave a speech and she talked about slavery during the speech. However, that seemed to have upset, um, Bill O'Reilly and Rush Limbaugh and probably some other folks who have similar mindsets to them. All right, so apparently Bill O'Reilly said that like slaves were fed and housed, so I guess that makes slavery okay, To someone like him, I guess that's his way to justify slavery. Um, but I'm thinking, okay, if that was the case, and that was all, then like, would you want to be a slave? Like, keep it real. Like, it seemed like folks just really like to paint like the happy slave narrative. You know, particularly like Caucasian people, white people in the United States really like to kind of like pretend like it wasn't really that bad. That it was just a matter of just, oh, you just have to do some chores, but you get, food and shelter. It wasn't like that was a part of it, yes, but it was much more to it. Um, and also, Bill, I heard said something like, there was no such thing as illegal immigration, or either there were no illegal immigrants back then. I guess Native American people don't really count. Like their opinion doesn't really matter. um, because I'm sure they would argue that European colonizers were illegal immigrants. Were like really the issue. But since they're Native American, they don't really matter. Only people opinion who really matters to the likes of Bill O'Reilly and Rush Limbaugh are white people. White people with the same mindset as them, but at least white. And then also I heard that Rush Limbaugh said like something like people should stop talking about slavery. I'm thinking, okay, do we ever say that about the Civil War? You know, do we say that about like the 4th of July? Do we say that about Pearl Harbor? Do we say that about 9/11? No, we never say those things. But whenever black people want to really speak on their history, there's an issue. And I think it's just because, you know, a lot of people are, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but, a lot of people are in, involved in a negative way in black people's history and black people's oppression. But a lot of people want to just sweep it under the rug and say like, oh, it's no big deal. But it really is a big deal. Slavery did set the tone for the black experience in America. Like genocide against Native Americans set the tone for the Native American experience in America. Like, notice there's not really a strong Native American presence in America. Why? Genocide, right? Like, you know, European colonizers did not want to have to deal with Native American people. They couldn't enslave them because Native Americans, part of the reason was Native Americans couldn't really deal with European colonizers' diseases. Also, they knew the makeup of the land so well that they could escape really well. You know, like, African people, on the other hand, they did not know the makeup of the land very well, so escape was more difficult. As well, like black people, African people were able to tolerate the diseases. They had a stronger immune system to deal with, being exposed to Native American, not is exposed to European diseases. So since they couldn't enslave Native Americans, they just purged them. You know, get out. You know, go to the other side. You know, and slavery, on the other hand, was a brutally dehumanizing experience for Black people, which continues to today. Police brutality. You know, um, also higher incarceration rates, longer jail sentences, and so many other things factor into that brutal dehumanization. I think that was, I know Joyce, not Joyce, but Joy DeGruy, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, but Joy, like Dr. Joy DeGruy or DeGraw, not DeGraw, but I think it's DeGruy. But yeah, she spoke on that a lot in some of her speeches about the dehumanization of Black people through slavery. Um, and I think that is what we often overlook, that ultimately Black people were dehumanized and continue to still be dehumanized. And it was because of slavery that set the tone for the Black experience in America. Oftentimes when Black people are trying to figure out things like, oh, why aren't Black people in a certain tax bracket? It goes back to slavery. Why are there issues within the African American community in regards to gender and skin tone? Back to slavery. Like, a lot of these things jump back to slavery. And I know, like, a lot of people just like to just kind of like wash over it, sweep over it, just pretend like it never happened, and everything's all good and copacetic, but it's not, because even to today, slavery still has the effect, and you can't really even talk about slavery. There isn't really, and it's not just slavery, to be honest. If it was just slavery and only slavery, then perhaps it would be a stronger argument, but there was much more to it than just slavery, though. That's the thing. It set the tone for, like, the Jim Crow era, the redlining, the lynchings, the rape of Black women even after slavery, and them not being able to get justice for being raped by white men. It set the tone. It's all like, these people are not human, so we don't really have to treat them as humans or have sympathy or empathy for them, because they are not human. That's why this stuff continues till today. And Black people are really boxed into a very small, like Black people are only like this little box right here, even though Black people are so much more than that and so much more complex than that. It's just not seen as that. And also, you being an oppressed person, be it any oppression, not just racial, but just any oppression in general, whether it be like a gender oppression, race oppression, religious oppression, sexual orientation oppression, political oppression, like any type of oppression, there isn't a space for you to express your oppression and to speak on your oppression. So you have to make a space. And when you make a space, you often have to, again, like, you have to really ruffle people's feathers, for lack of a better phrase. You can't, like, there's no space, so it's like, oh, it's not like, oh, what do the Black people think? Sometimes you just got to come forward and just say what you want to say and express how you want to feel. Like, not how you want to feel, but express how you feel, So again, there's not a space for oppressed people to speak, so they have to make a space for them to speak, and that upsets privileged people, oppressors and the privileged people. So being who Bill O'Reilly and Rush Limbaugh are, they are definitely privileged people who would be seen as oppressors. So this does, upset them, you know. But if this was some person talking about the Confederate flag, they wouldn't have an issue with it. Like, oh, we should be able to, fly the Confederate flag, even though that flag is associated with a time in the United States where, like, the North and South were split and not considered one union, but it's still, for some reason, really that should have been outlawed, just for the fact that it is a symbol that represents division within America. For that simple fact alone, it should have been outlawed. But if they can, like, if they can have it, then black people can have what they have. If they can speak on the flag, then black people can definitely speak on slavery and any other issues that they're going through. And also, I noticed that, some people may be upset that, oh, why is the Mexican flag being flown in America? Well, I'm like, well, depending on what part of America you're in, Mexico was part of, like, the part of America. Mexico was much bigger than it was, but there was a war and the Treaty of Hidalgo, and that wind up increasing the size of the United States, but decreasing the size of Mexico. So the United States wound up absorbing part of Mexico into the current, country that we have. That's why, like, a lot of, when you go out west, like, a lot of cities and even names of states have Hispanic origin. So depending on where you are, it could be a reasonable argument that, hey, I could fly the Mexican flag because this part of the United States was originally part of Mexico, right? For those who may be upset of seeing the Mexican flag fly. And I know I'm all over the place with this video. I'm jumping from here to there, so I apologize for that. I just really wanted to just, I guess, give my 2 cents on this. The happy slave narrative, like, don't believe it and don't try to promote it. No. Trust me. There are stories of first accounts of slavery that were very brutal, and it, like, slavery and genocide, happened. Unfortunately, they did. We can't change the past. We can't. But what we can do and what we need to do is challenge the present that the past created. So we need to continue to have, I guess, continue to have these conversations so that we can at least work towards something. Like I said, unfortunately, genocide against Native Americans and enslaving Africans, crafted American society. And they continue to still sort of craft American society. The effects are still felt to today. And I think that's part of the reason why, kind of like when the police brutality happens against black people, a lot of people don't seem to be really sympathetic. But, switch the black person out, and let's say this was a white person, white female, and that police brutality happened. Like, a lot of people would be jumping to her defense, or even just a white male. I think, depending on the circumstances, and if, unarmed, not being a threat, being within the law, like, people would be outraged by that. There's so much more I could say, but I'll bring this video to a close, and the message that I would leave Bill O'Reilly, Rush Limbaugh, and others with a similar mindset to those people, I would leave you with the message of, when people of color are speaking about their experience, listen and learn something from it. Don't try to speak over them. Don't try to wash over their experience, particularly when it comes to racism. Like, listen and learn, because being in the position you are, you probably won't be experiencing what they're experiencing as far as racism is concerned. You probably will not. So a lot of it will probably just come off a bit strange and a bit alien to you, because it's just like that. Like, what is that about? But it does exist. People are not exaggerating. People are not trying to be victims. People are victims, you know. So again, listen and learn when people of color are speaking about their experiences with racism. Listen. Don't try to shut them up. Don't try to, wash over their experiences. Don't try to justify what they've been through. Listen and learn, you know. And if, all lives really do matter, and if we are all truly American, then hey, let's all work on trying to move forward as one society in one country, and make everyone feel like they're included, they're important, you know. But that's all I have to say for the time being. So thanks a lot for watching, you guys. Feel free to comment. I definitely appreciate the feedback. Adios and goodbye for now.